So here we go. Let's look at this one. She starts off by saying, we always thought ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean types. That was the quote by the anthropologist. But then Egyptologist says, ancient Egyptians are Mediterraneans. Yes, he did just say that. No, he just said, we always thought ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean types. They thought that the leaders, the elites, the ones in controls, were Mediterranean type. Now, that is not necessarily always the case, because we have examples, which I'm about to show you, where they thought the elites were actually admixed or had Nubian features. So we're going to take a look at this book called The X-Ray Atlas of the Royal Mummies. And let's read what it says. Dental alveolar prognatism, an inherited trait which is normal for the Nubian people, ancient and modern, may be observed in pharaohs Thutmose I, Thutmose II, Siptah, and Meremta, and most of the queens of the 21st dynasty. Other royal mummies such as Seti I, Thutmose IV, and Amenhotep II had a very straight dental profile or large interintcisal angles characteristic of northern Mediterranean people or the Western world. In summary, then the pharaohs and queens of the New Kingdom, a period of almost 500 years, were heterogeneous. So basically they're saying that the elites had different phenotypes. Some of the phenotypes were Nubian. Now, as pertained to the regular people, we have so much studies done on the regular people showing that they had so many different type of phenotypes, including a Negroid phenotype. Now this here is interesting. It stated the anthropologists think he was a black African. That's what the narrator said. And Egyptologist 7 says, but none of the anthropologists make this claim, only the narrator. Now this is hilarious. Are you telling me that the narrator just made up the bone density and the nasal distance and basically said that he was black African? I mean, when I saw this, like, she's just making up nonsense. And then she goes on to say, so where's that data that proves that he's a black African? Instead, the accusation is based on non-scientific speculation of a few statues. Well, here's the thing. This is what she used as proof of evidence, where it says all indications are that the ruling family of the 12th dynasty in Elephantine had Negroid features, as Hibachi had already suggested from the statues that he found in Elephantine. There is no connection with this and Shemai. There was no statue, as far as I know, there was no statues of Shemai found, and that wasn't used as evidence to state that Shemai was a black African. Let's look further into this passage that she quoted here. Okay, let's take a look at the entire picture. Here's what it really says. It says at the top, Sarenput. He also died young, 21 years old, and was also Negroid. Future DNA analysis will confirm whether both were in any way related. The reason why I'm saying that is because there was another Negroid remains found. It says all indications are that the ruling family of the 12th dynasty in Elephantine had Negroid features, as Hibachi had already suggested from the statues that he found in Elephantine. So you can clearly see this has nothing to do with Shemai. This is not the evidence that Shemai was a black African. Basically, all this is saying is that the other Negroid remains proved what Hibachi had already suggested from the statues that he found in the Elephantine. Now, this is the thing. The reason why they say all indications of the ruling family of the 12th dynasty in Elephantine had Negroid features, and the reason why they said that was because Sarenput was called overseer of the house. So his title shows that he was somebody important, extremely important. That's why they said all indications are that the ruling family of the 12th dynasty had Negroid features. So where's the data that Shemai is Black African? Let's let Alejandro Jimenez Serrano, the anthropologist, the Egyptologist, say it himself. Okay, so here, Egyptologist 7 is trying to diminish the title and responsibilities of Shemai, and basically stating that Shemai was just cleaning up the barn, especially because of his age. One thing we've noticed is that even King Tut was given a royal title as king at the age of 9. That's one. So people are given titles at young ages, and they may be guided and directed by others. So they may be given important titles which later on they will follow up through life. When it comes to Shemai, he was given 2 titles. One was Granary Overseer, which Egyptologist 7 makes it seem like Shemai was cleaning the barn, which is not the case, which it wasn't the implication, especially by the Egyptologist. And the other title that he had was Elector Priest, which basically means that he would recite rituals and stuff like that at important meetings or important ceremonies. So let's follow up on that. But the Egyptologist, I will say, believes that those titles was imposed upon him. However, I do disagree. I believe that those were the responsibilities that he would have held if he had continued on in life. But otherwise, as pertaining to what Egyptologist was saying, no, he wasn't clean up shit. So here, I want to point out something that I did wrong. I was wrong about something. I was completely and 100% wrong, and I made a mistake. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Told that his mummy was never found. It was robbed, I suppose. Hundreds, even thousands of.
So here you can see I acknowledged that I was wrong, and I have no problem with acknowledging that I was wrong, because I have no intentions to try to deceive anybody or try to make anything not what it is. I made a big mistake and a big error, and I am wrong about that. And thank you for pointing it out, Egyptologist 7. You are correct. Now, let's follow up with the rest of the video and the stuff that you don't show your followers.
That is great. Here's one with its head still intact, and I think, yeah, another one here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 statues. Look at the eyes of them staring at us across time. So
فيها زي وزير بالضبط وارقامه مش عليه. وهنا طبعا مش داير، يعني في 33 ناحية يمين، مش 3. طبعا غالبيتهم زي ما احنا شايفينهم مدمرين. يمكن ده أكتر واحد يعني ممكن يتشاف. طبعا الدمنة بتاعته هبص ألاقيها مش دايما دي، لا الدمنة العادية هي مش معقوفة مستقيمة تمام جدا.
So let's see what the Egyptologists say about what we see in those images that you didn't show your viewers. One of the most interesting features of Shemai's skull is that his facial features can be classified as ethnically black. The discovery makes sense when seen in the context of the Elephantine as a border area, where different human groups interacted over millennia. As a consequence of this, we can conclude that Sarenput II was also black. What? Say what? This is the Egyptologist saying this. As with most of his ancestors. Wait, what? As with most of his ancestors? In certain ways, these ethnic characteristics were already apparent to those who had studied the statues found in the sanctuary of Heket. Now let's go down further. It says, Sarenput II's family members are depicted as Egyptians in this way, so the color of their skin was merely a personal feature, not an ethnically differentiation element. Egypt then, as now, was diverse from the point of view of the different human groups living there. That's basically what I've been saying donkey long. The ancient Egyptians were racially mixed from the beginning, from the Delta all the way down to Aswan. But let's see how racially diverse they were. So at the bottom we can see that Sarenput II's other daughter, Setageni, had Mediterranean features in her cranium. But what Egyptologist 7 doesn't point out was that there's another Setageni. It's Setageni A. You can see it there right at the top. It says site to identify the body of Setageni A with Setageni V. The latter shows Mediterranean features in her cranium. So what does the former show? Here we go. Okay, do you remember when I talked about that there was a second Negroid person? Well, this is the second one. And when they found him, he had a dagger on him. And they did a whole study on it. And they showed out this individual's name was Kima. And he was a priest. And he was Negroid. So here we're going to discuss 4 individuals found during the time of Sarenput I. And we're going to look at them and we're going to see something very important. Okay, we're going to look at this individual here and read it. In spite of its very bad condition, negroid features can be observed in the skull, such as rounded lower ridge of the nasal cavity, lack of canine teeth, and a small nasal spine. Okay, let's read this one. It says almost total absence of canine fossa, and the nasal width allows us to classify the individual within the negroid human group. Remember, it says almost total absence of canine fossa. Okay, here's the third one. Facial features such as the rounded lower ridge of the nasal cavity, small nasal spine, and virtual lack of canine teeth allow us to classify the subject as negroid. Okay, so now let's read this one. It says her long and tight nose, the sharp lower ridge of the nostrils, the large nasal spine, and the presence of canine teeth lead us to include her in the Caucasoid group. Okay, so here's our A group Nubian with its slightly wider nose and its square orbits. But there's also one more thing that I would like to show you. Gonzalez, take a close look here. Early dynastic A group man skull, no canine teeth in maxilla. What? No canine teeth? In the last three that we read, who had no canine teeth? So no canine teeth, wider nose, and square orbits. So just a brief review. Egyptian elites had different morphological features, according to many studies. 2. Egyptologist 7 made up evidence for the claim of Shemai being black based off of statues. There was nothing to support that, nothing at all. 3. Shemai was called black by the Egyptologist that found him based off of the CT scans. 4. Egyptologist 7 made up Shemai's title of cleaning the barn, and Shemai actually had two prestigious titles, overseer of the storehouse and lector priest, which I feel that if he was to continue on life, those would have been his main responsibilities. 5. Egyptologist 7 was 100% correct. I was wrong. They did not have Sarenput II remains. She was also correct with other things as pertain to, in some of the videos pertaining to Shemai, they was making claims that the pharaohs were black. That Shemai wasn't a pharaoh. So those videos that was made like that is just completely false. 6. The statues of Sarenput II clearly show him with African features. This is what Egyptologist 7 does not show her people. And she loves to show pictures of statues with prognatism and wide noses and big lips and all this type of stuff. But she did not show this to her people. And that goes to 7. The Egyptologist that found Sarenput II stated he was more likely black, like Shemai. 8. Ancient Egyptian elites and non-elites were racially mixed. So there was ones that were Negroid and ones that were Caucasoid, and there was, of course, the ones in between. And finally, A group Nubians, besides having square orbits, which is an African trait, and a little wider nose, also had no canine teeth. The example that was shown had no canine teeth. And from what we've seen before, no canine teeth was classified as Negroid.